Hello everyone. Before we begin our journey down some of the darkest stretches of road you can imagine, make sure you're settled in. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It's the best way to ensure you don't miss the stories waiting for you, just around the next bend. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. Tonight, we're not telling just one story. We're telling nine true accounts of ordinary trips that spiraled into nightmares. These aren't tales of ghosts or monsters from the woods. The horror here is human. It's the knock on your window in the dead of night, the headlights that have been following you for just a little too long, the overwhelming silence of a place that feels emptier than it should. These are stories from people who did everything right, or maybe made one small, understandable mistake. People like you and me, who just wanted to get from one place to another. So, turn off the lights, put your phone away, and remember, the next time you see a lonely exit or an isolated rest stop, you might just think twice. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 2022. The narrator and his wife, Nora, were driving from Denver to Albuquerque. A tradition. A chance to escape routine before the chaos of the holidays. He'd just clocked out from the warehouse. She picked him up at the gate. She was the plan of sandwiches packed, thermos of coffee, true crime podcasts queued up. He remembers watching her, thinking how lucky he was. She was wearing his old college sweatshirt. The landscape grew sparse as they crossed into New Mexico. Just the white line of the road, the glow of distant ranch lights. Nora slept, head against the window. He drove their old Subaru, a relic from his father, listening to a staticky country station. Around 11:30 p.m., on a desolate stretch of I-25, headlights rushed up from behind. A dark pickup truck pulled alongside. The driver honked, gesturing frantically at the back of their car, pointing at a tire, making a slashing motion. The logical choice. Pull over. A flat tire could leave you stranded. So, against a sudden, cold feeling in his gut, he did. The man who stepped out of the truck was tall, wearing a denim jacket and a low baseball cap. Friendly smile. He said he'd seen sparks. Our narrator thanked him, walked to check the tire. It was fine. Fully inflated. No damage. When he turned back to say so, the man was only 3 feet away. The friendly smile was gone, replaced by nothing. A blank, empty expression. What happened next unfolded in fragments. A hand grabbing his shoulder, fingers bruising deep. The flash of a blade, a horizontal swing aimed for his throat. He stumbled back, falling hard on the gravel. He heard Nora scream from the car. The man stepped over him, walking calmly toward the driver's side door. Our narrator scrambled up, yelling for Nora to run. She was panicking, fumbling with her phone, tangled in her seatbelt. The man slammed a fist against the window. Our narrator tackled him. They fell. The knife skittered under the car. But the man was stronger. So much stronger. He flipped them, pinned our narrator down, and wrapped his hands around his throat. The world grayed. Sounds muffled. The last thing he saw was Nora finally bursting out of the passenger door, running into the blackness of the open plain. Then, the weight was gone. The man was running after her. Our narrator gasped on the ground, throat burning. He stumbled to his feet. The highway was empty, silent but for the wind. He called her name, his voice a rasp. He found her white sneaker in the road. 50 yards later, he found her, lying in the scrub brush off the shoulder. Her eyes were open, staring at the stars. His old college sweatshirt was dark and wet. The wound across her throat was precise. She was gone. The investigation moved fast. The truck was found abandoned. DNA from a cigarette butt, a partial fingerprint. They matched to Boyd Driscoll, 44, with a history of violent assaults on highway travelers. He was caught in Arizona. He smiled when they read him his rights. At the trial, Our narrator had to describe that night, while Driscoll watched him with that same blank expression. Life without parole. Our narrator sold everything. Moved to a small town in Vermont, a place they'd dreamed of. He goes to therapy. Takes medication for the dreams. Some days are better than others. He shares this story with a warning. If someone flags you down on an empty road, do not stop. Keep driving. Call for help and keep driving. Because the few minutes you save by being a good Samaritan might cost you everything. Story number 2. The Hitchhiker. Carla and her husband were driving from Portland to Sacramento for a wedding. A long haul to save on a motel. She was asleep when he saw the man on the shoulder. A silver pickup with its hood up. A man in a flannel shirt, waving tiredly. Broad daylight. Cell service. The man seemed genuinely stranded. He introduced himself as Greg. Said his fuel pump died. Asked for a ride to the next town, just 20 miles down the road. They did the mental math. Daylight. 2 of them. 1 of him. They told him to get in the back. For the first 15 minutes, it was fine. Small talk. He asked about their route. Glanced at the GPS. Then, as they approached an exit, his voice changed. Keep going straight, he said. This town is no good. He insisted they continue to the next town. His tone was flatter now. Insistent. They missed the exit. Greg started giving unprompted directions. When they mentioned a rest stop, he dismissed it. His hand rested inside his gym bag. He started talking about his past. Time served. How people judge you. How sometimes a man just needs people to help him without asking questions. The atmosphere in the car turned to ice. He was in control, and they knew it. Then, in the distance, red and blue lights. A police checkpoint. Hope flashed across Carla's face. Greg saw it too. He cursed, take the next exit. Now his hand was gripping something inside the bag. They were a quarter mile from the checkpoint. Carla made a decision. She pointed at the dashboard. Her voice panicked. The engine's overheating. We have to pull over. It was a lie, but it was brilliant. They pulled onto the shoulder, close enough to the police to be seen. Greg hesitated, staring between them and the checkpoint. Stay in the car, he muttered. Then he grabbed his bag, got out, and walked quickly into an empty field, disappearing into a tree line. A police officer approached moments later. When they explained, her demeanor shifted. They were looking for a man matching that description, connected to an armed robbery and carjacking. A gas station clerk had been badly beaten. They had been driving for over an hour, with a violent criminal sitting 3 feet behind them. The moral here isn't just about it's about the illusion of safety. Daylight, numbers, a public road, it can all dissolve in an instant. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is convince yourself you're safe. Story number 3. The Curve. Spring break, 2023. 5 friends in a Suburban, driving through the night to Austin to save money on a motel. They were young, invincible, buzzing with the excitement of a trip before adult life pulled them apart. The weather turned ugly. Rain hammered the windshield. The driver, Corey, had been at the wheel for hours. He was tired. Someone had smuggled whiskey. He took a drink to prove he wasn't. The passenger in the front seat noticed his eyelids getting heavy. Offered to drive. Corey refused. We're almost there. The curve came out of nowhere on the rain-slicked state highway. A sharp left. Corey yanked the wheel. Overcorrected. The Suburban spun. Tires screaming. Then came the sensation of falling. The guardrail gave way. The world tumbled. Glass shattered. Metal shrieked. When motion stopped, they were upside down in a ditch. The passenger was hanging from his seatbelt, blood dripping from a split forehead onto the ceiling below. The first sound he registered after the ringing was Megan, in the back, crying in broken, gasping sobs. Corey, the driver, was slumped forward, unconscious, a deep gash pumping blood from his hairline. One friend had a bone pressing against the skin of her arm. Another shattered both his kneecaps. They were in the middle of nowhere, in the pounding rain, with no cell service. One phone had survived. The 911 call was a desperate, chaotic mess. "We're in a ditch. It's dark. My friends are dying." The ambulance took 47 minutes to find them. 47 minutes of holding a friend's hand, counting shallow breaths, watching the life drain out of someone you love. Corey survived, with a traumatic brain injury. He spent days in a coma. Others live with permanent limps, limited mobility, and scars that aren't just physical. The 5 friends don't talk anymore. Not out of anger, but because being together means remembering. They saved $100 by not getting a motel, and it cost them their friendship, their health, and nearly their lives. The lesson is brutal in its simplicity. No destination is worth rushing toward when you're retired, impaired, or driving in dangerous conditions. Pull over, get the room. It is never worth it. Story number 4. The Canyon. After 41 years of marriage and retirement, a couple finally took their dream cross-country trip in a used Winnebago. They were headed to Arizona to see their granddaughter. They stopped for gas at a lonely station in Colorado. The attendant, Roy, had deep sunlines and watchful eyes. He warned them against their planned route through a canyon pass. "Folks have been having trouble," he said. He suggested a longer, busier road. They thanked him, but stuck to their scenic plan. Highway 84 wound through majestic ancient rock, beautiful and utterly isolated. That's when a white pickup truck appeared in their mirror. It didn't pass. It just followed, matching their speed exactly. Unease turned to dread when they pulled over to let it pass, and the driver, a bald man with a thick beard and pale eyes, slowed to a crawl, staring directly at them as he went by. They decided to push on to the next town. That was their mistake. Around a sharp bend, they found the white pickup parked sideways, completely blocking the road. The bald man stood in front of it. 2 more men emerged from the trees. When they threw the RV into reverse, a 4th man in a rusted sedan blocked them from behind. They were boxed in, trapped. The bald man walked forward, speaking calmly. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." He said they just wanted the RV and their cash, that they could walk to the next town. They didn't believe him. The looks on the other men's faces promised something else. In a split-second decision, the husband slammed the RV in reverse, crashing their towed Subaru into the blocking sedan. He jerked the wheel, squeezing through the gap as the men attacked the vehicle with a crowbar, fists pounding the glass. They escaped, but the RV was mortally wounded, engine overheating, dragging the wrecked Subaru. They abandoned it on a hidden dirt road and fled on foot into the cold, dark forest. They hid under a rocky overhang for hours, listening to engines and voices search for them. They saw an orange glow in the distance, their RV being burned. At dawn, they walked to a road and were picked up by a trucker. The police later arrested the bald man, Wesley Grubb, linked to other disappearances in the area. The other men vanished. They never took another road trip. Some roads, they learned, aren't meant to be traveled. And some people don't just want your belongings. They want you to vanish without a trace. Story number 5. The Rest Stop. 2 friends, Grant and the narrator, were on a night drive to Kansas City. Tired, they pulled into an unmarked gravel turnoff to sleep. As they got out to stretch, their headlights revealed fresh, deep tire marks in the gravel. The soil was disturbed. Then came the smell. Sweet, chemical, like gasoline and something else. Using a phone flashlight, they followed the tracks. In the tall grass, they found a latex glove, turned inside out. 5 feet further, a dark jacket bunched up. The back of it was soaked with a dark wet stain. Blood, a lot of it. From the jacket, drag marks led into the black woods. Their blood turned cold. This wasn't an animal. This was human. And it was recent. They backed toward their car, trying not to run. That's when Grant pointed. Across the clearing, in the tree line, a single, yellowish flashlight beam was pointed directly at them. It wasn't moving. It was just watching. Then it turned off. They ran, fumbling with keys, hearts hammering. As they sped away, the narrator looked back. A dark figure stood at the edge of the trees where the light had been, just a shape watching them flee. They called 911 from a gas station miles later. They couldn't pinpoint the location, just a stretch of highway. Days later, a detective confirmed they'd found the site. They'd found evidence of a violent incident. The blood was human. They asked again about the figure. They never made an arrest. The narrator still checks the news. Nothing. Whoever was in those woods is still out there. Sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't what you see, but what you almost see and the realization that you were seen in return. Story number 6. The Fake Cop. 5 guys in a Suburban, heading to New Orleans for a bachelor party. On a dark, empty stretch of I-10 in Louisiana, red and blue lights flashed behind them. They pulled over. The vehicle was a dark SUV with no markings. The light bar on top looked crooked, almost homemade. The man who stepped out wore a plain black closure badge, no patches. He moved too eagerly. He asked for license and registration, then ignored them. His questions became invasive. Where are you going? Is anyone expecting you? Does your girlfriend know your exact route? He leaned close. His eyes were hollow. His fingernails were dirty. He asked the passenger, Milo, to step out of the vehicle for a private word. The driver, Garrett, felt the wrongness like a physical weight. As the man waited for Milo to comply, Garrett picked up his phone. I'm going to call 911, he said, calmly, just to verify this stop. I hope you understand. The man's fake friendly demeanor vanished. His jaw tightened. That won't be necessary, he said. He dropped their documents on the ground. You're free to go. He walked quickly back to his SUV. As they drove away, they watched in the mirror as the vehicle's lights turned off completely. It made an illegal U-turn across the median and disappeared into the darkness, running with no lights at all. Shaken, they stopped at a real state trooper's patrol at a gas station. They told their story. The trooper's face grew serious. There were no authorized units in that area that night. Their description matched other reports on that highway. A man in a fake police vehicle, trying to separate drivers from their cars. They gave formal statements. The detective told them they dematched their account to at least 2 other cases from the past 18 months. They never found out who he was. The bachelor party went on, but the joy was gone, replaced by a chilling understanding. The symbol of safety, a police car, can be stolen. And the most dangerous trap is one you willingly walk into because you think you have to obey. Story number 7. The Lodge. A family, tired of chain hotels, booked a small, quaint roadside lodge for a reset. The GPS led them down a narrow gravel road to a place that looked paused in time. Paint peeled. Weeds grew through the parking lot. No other cars. The manager was a man with stiff posture and clothes that looked slept in. He was polite but distant, his eyes never quite meeting theirs. Inside, the room was clean, but off. The curtains were heavy, blocking the light. A strange, low thudding noise came from somewhere behind the building. The wife tried a side exit near the vending machines. It was locked from the outside. So was another door near the stairwell. Deliberately locked, not broken. Stepping outside for air, the husband spotted items tucked behind a dumpster. Not thrown away. A worn backpack, a single sneaker, A cracked phone case. Hidden. The thudding noise came again. Closer. Without a word, they made a decision. They told the kids to put their shoes on. They returned the key to the office. The manager looked almost annoyed, taking the key and dropping it into a drawer already full of others. They drove away, watching the mirror, expecting pursuit. None came. But the relief only hit miles later. They later looked up the lodge online. The listing was still there, with oddly spaced, overly positive reviews. They posted their own careful review, stating only the facts. No guests, locked exits, hidden belongings. Soon after, the entire listing vanished from every site. They never knew what the lodge was truly for. They only knew that the locked exits weren't for keeping people out. They were for keeping people in, and they left just in time. Story number 8. The Breakdown. Two friends, the narrator and Logan, broke down on a desolate rural highway. No cell service. They decided to wait. A dark, older pickup truck passed. Then it came back from the opposite direction, slowing the third time it passed. It slowed almost to a stop. The fourth time, it pulled over ahead of them. The driver got out. Bald cap, clean boots. He offered help with a calm, flat voice. They refused, saying someone was coming. His eyes darted between them and their car. When they refused a second time, his expression hardened. He drove off, but the dread remained. Later, at a diner with working Wi-Fi, the narrator found a local news article. A string of roadside robberies. Victims were stranded drivers. The suspect vehicle. A dark pickup truck that would circle back multiple times before attacking. The descriptions matched perfectly. They had been inches away from becoming the next paragraph in that article. The terror here is in the repetition, the circling, the patience. It's the predator assessing its prey. The lesson: if someone seems overly persistent in their offer to help, if their behavior doesn't feel right, trust that instinct, even if it feels rude. Staying in your locked car and waiting for real, verified help is not paranoia. It's survival. Story number 9. The Detour. 3 friends on a road trip let their GPS reroute them down a narrow farm road to save time. Cell service died. The road worsened. They reached a tiny, dying town, a gas pump, a diner with one flickering light. Inside the diner, conversation stopped. Locals stared, not with curiosity, but a cold watchfulness. When they asked for directions back to the highway, they got muttered warnings about roads not being safe after dark. As they drove away, headlights appeared in their mirror. One set, then 2, then 3. No one passed. They just followed, matching speed, forming a silent convoy. The paved road turned to gravel. The headlights behind maintained their perfect, menacing formation. One truck pulled up alongside just long enough for the driver to stare before dropping back. Panicked, they took a random turn toward a sign pointing to the highway. One follower peeled off, but 2 stayed. They pushed their car to its limit, cresting a hill. And there it was. The beautiful, glorious glow of the interstate's reflective markers. The moment their tires hit the smooth asphalt, the pursuing headlights slowed, then stopped. Then, one by one, they turned off. They never looked back. Research later revealed forum posts and vague news items about travelers being led astray and harassed on back roads in that county. No official reports, just whispers. The final lesson is about technology and trust. A GPS can lead you down the most efficient route, but it doesn't know which roads are lonely, which towns are hostile, or which stretches of asphalt belong to people who don't want visitors. Always have a paper map. Always know your general route. And if a detour feels like it's leading you into nowhere, it probably is. 9 stories. 9 different roads leading to fear. The common thread isn't just bad luck or being in the wrong place. It's the fragility of our everyday safety. The trust we put in other people, in our vehicles, in our technology, and in the simple assumption that the road ahead is just a path to take us home. These stories are shared not to make you afraid of the world, but to make you aware of it. To remind you that your instincts are your first and often best line of defense. If something feels wrong, it probably is. A locked door, a refusal to make a call, the decision to keep driving even when you're exhausted. These aren't just choices. They are the small, critical actions that keep you in the light and out of the dark. Thank you for traveling this dark road with me tonight. If these stories stayed with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever had a roadside experience that left you shaken? Your stories remind us all to stay vigilant. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. Until next time, drive safe and trust your gut.